What's happening, people? It is Cooper. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast is proudly brought to you by my friends over at Midwest Meals. MidwestMeals.com is the website. It is so convenient. Now, Midwest Meals, here's what they do. They do all that meal prep for you. So your meals are ready to go for the week. All you have to do is go to MidwestMeals.com, pick out the meals you want for the week, add them to your subscription, get that done by Friday, and then on Monday, no matter where you are, nationwide, they will ship to your house. Your meals will arrive, and you are set to go. Meal prep, check, done for the week. And if you're local, if you're here in the Valley, you can just stop into one of their many pickup locations and grab your meals for the week on Monday. Very cool stuff. You got your macros counted on there, calorie count. They have the macro calculator on the website, which you can go and see where your goals are at. Like if you want to gain muscle, you want to lose some weight, you want to maintain. Add all your stuff in, your info in, and boom, it'll pop out the number of each that you need to have in your body to achieve those aforementioned goals. MidwestMeals.com. Promo code is Cooper. Get 10% off your first order. MidwestMeals.com. Hashtag MidwestFitFam. Ball Wash, proud new sponsor of the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. They got everything, guys, for your guys down there. The stanky parts. The wash, the rub, the spray. Ballwash.com is the website. Go there and check out their fine products in all their different scent profiles. And at checkout, use the promo code Cooper and get 15% off that order. Ballwash.com. Hashtag live life balls out. Violent Gentlemen Hockey Club, you know those guys. Proud sponsors of the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. Their hoodie collection, like I want all of them. Each and every one of those Violent Gentlemen hoodies and pullover sweatshirts. You need to go and check them out and see exactly what I'm talking about. ViolentGentleman.com. Find something you like. Maybe it's not hoodies. There's t-shirts, there's ladies wear, there's caps, there's everything. Jerseys. Jump on board. ViolentGentleman.com. Promo code is Cooperville15. 15% off your first order, violentgentleman.com. And you know, the show wouldn't be complete without a couple Monster Energies, keeping us fueled over here, keeping the workouts going, focused and hydrated with Monster Hydro. You know, they got all the varieties. They got the original. They got a whole bunch of different flavors. The Ultra line, which we're talking 0 sugar, 0 calorie. Hashtag Monster Podcasts.
Welcome to Cooperville. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast. On demand anywhere quality podcasts are available. And some places where cheap podcasts are available.
At the local gas station has some.
Subscribe, get updates, feel better about your life. Welcome to Cooperville.com.
Check.
Welcome to Cooperville. Make sure you use a coaster. The wife gets upset when we leave rings on the tables.
Guess who's back? Back again. Jimmy's back. Tell a friend. Jimmy Hayes Nelson back on the podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. It's good to be back so soon. You know, a lot of times you do these things and it always ends with, hey, we should do this again. You're like, great. And then like years go by. So the fact that you've had me back on this quickly, I like, because it hasn't been long enough that we can kind of continue a conversation a bit, you know?
Yeah, Jimmy was on episode 28. This is episode 43. So we put some distance in episodes at least, but I do recommend if anybody has not checked out that episode to get the introduction to Jimmy and his story, and we'll touch on some of those points as we get through this one. But go listen at episode number 28 on the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. But I wanted to have you back on, and we kind of talked about this, you know, in the interim between episode 28 and now, is how we're kind of falling into the holiday season, all that, the traps that are out there, the kind of kicking the can down the road until January. So a lot of topics to discuss, to get to. But I know that we're both in the same boat here. Before this podcast started, I went outside and I had to salt my driveway because it's snowing here. I know you're dealing with this. Oh wait, no, Jimmy's in Dallas.
It is 25 here in Dallas today, which is cold for us.
You know, here's another business idea for you. Open up a little pop-up store.
Yeah.
So anytime like the temperature drops below like 32, just have like hoodies and stuff, like, you know.
Oh yeah, because they'll freak out here in Dallas. Like it's you know, after it, and it does make me appreciate my 4 years in New York City to realize what cold actually is. And I think it's going to be 70 by Tuesday again here, so we're okay.
Yeah, we've fallen into some weird. We blame Canada for a lot of things. Like in the summer, if it's hazy, we're like, oh, Canadian wildfires. And when we get these, we have an early like Arctic blast of cold weather here. Like we were in the single digits. We had below zero wind chills. I'm like, it's November. And as a lifelong Wisconsinite, I'm like, I'm almost 40. I want to stay here. I want to stay here. My kid's in a great school.
Right.
And I'm trying to like get him that Midwestern mentality, like 30, and this is nothing, so wherever he ventures in life, he's going to be just fine. But I'm to a point where I'm like, all these snowbirds they used to make fun of who leave, come up to Wisconsin during the 2.5 weeks of beautiful weather we have during the summer and then bolt the rest of the time, head to the Carolinas or down to Dallas or Arizona. I'm like, they're on to something. They know what's up.
I worked at Disney World for 2 years, and it was the same thing in Florida. It was a lot of New Yorkers that kind of, would hit retirement. They wanted something to do. So they'd come down to Orlando and they would literally work like 2 days a week at Disney World, like greeting people. And I was like, that's not a terrible way to like wrap things up after you're done, with your work years.
They kind of figured out, man. And with that, with the weather, obviously that we're talking about, there is, there's going to be some differences in people who get to this time of year. I mean, being from the North, from the Midwest, this is the time of year where I start seeing like crock pot recipes pop up on my Facebook and Instagram. Right. And, it's the hardy time of year, got to put that extra layer on, to be able to go out and shovel and all this stuff. But I think, the overall conversation that we'll have as we get into this holiday, it's not a slower time of year. It's a very fast paced time of year, but there's more time off. My kid's in a couple of weeks, he's got the whole week off for Thanksgiving and he's got, a week plus off for Christmas. And, so there's a lot of on the go stuff. And sure. I think we fall into, just because of the nature of the holidays. I mean, they're really every gathering, every get together, every after work party, or it's all based on food and drink and indulgence, which I think is great. I think and we'll talk about how this doesn't have to be this, I'm all in and no fun is going to be had.
Right.
But I think you have to go and enjoy these things. I think it's great. It's a great way to get out and talk to people, reconnect with people. Family time is important, but a lot of times people can get to that edge and then just fall all the way down. And the cushion that's underneath, the cushion that's at the bottom of that ravine is it's okay because New Year's is coming. Because January 1st.
And I don't know how true this stat is, but in fact, I just got back from the UK as well, and they were talking about the holidays over there. And, it came up that like the average person, let's say American or, Canadian, I feel like it's always the same number, is during the holiday season put on 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's technically 10 pounds. I think a lot of that can come from water weight and bloat, and a lot of times it's inflammation because of the things that we're taking in the holidays.
Right.
But I love what you just said, and I completely agree with all these parties and indulgence and family time and stuff. Man, I think this is where people get it twisted a bit, is nobody's asking you to not enjoy those and enjoy those to the fullest, right? So, you have the office party, you have the time to get with your family, you have that holiday party or whatever, and there may be extra food or extra drinks. Where I don't understand necessarily the mentality are those people that get it's this trap of this all or nothing mentality, right? So let's say I'm talking to somebody about getting started with a fitness program, and we're talking primarily about their health and nutrition, and the traditional excuse this time of year is, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it 100%. So I'm going to wait till January.
Right.
And I think people say it that way because they feel it makes them sound super noble. Right. Like it's like, I'm going to waste your time or my money without doing this 100%. But they're also the same people that haven't done anything from February, March, April, May. There's always something. There's always going to be the next party, the next holiday. Kids are in school. Kids are out of school. Oh, it's football season. Oh, it's basketball season. Oh, it's hockey. Oh, it's whatever. There's a great video if you go to YouTube and search Zig Ziglar, who's one of my favorite personal development mentors, no longer with us. But he has a story talking about getting cooked in the squat. And without going into the entire thing, basically that's the premise is, hey, I'm going to get started when the kids get out of school. And then he literally goes through an entire year of oh, and this and this and this. And what you hear is he makes it all the way back around to, oh, now the kids are back in school.
Right.
His point is there's no perfect time to start. And in my head, I look at it this way is, man, I look forward to this time of year. I am a sucker for some gingerbread. I love some good eggnog, especially if it has whiskey or brandy in it.
My boy.
And I'm just going to feel, but it's not a reason I'm going to stop being active.
Right.
Am I going to be 1,000% on my nutrition? Absolutely not. Am I going to enjoy this time with my friends or family or reconnect with people? Sure. But literally, if you think about it, from now, from, early mid-November, where, we're about to hit Thanksgiving here in the States. So you can think that through New Year's, right? We're talking like 6 weeks maybe.
Right.
You might have on the high side 8 parties. I think about it because people act like they have to do, like they're going to be eating nothing but cupcakes and hot chocolate every day for the next 6 weeks.
Right.
So, well, I don't want to not, I don't want my family, I don't want to be the person that shows up to Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner with just the salad, or I'm nibbling on something my family makes fun of me. I'm like, great, well, don't do that. Go indulge those 8 meals, those 8 outings, and let's figure out what we do with the other 400 meals and times a day that you're going to do otherwise, and you're going to feel so much better. I know on Thanksgiving morning, I love getting up, getting in a good sweat, and then eating my face off and watching football the rest of the day.
Right.
There's something about moving first thing, and maybe I do take Friday off. But I just think in life in general, whether it's starting a business or fitness or nutrition, that we got to get away from this all or nothing mentality. Because there's never a perfect time that it's always going to be at that 100% right.
And I think I don't call them excuses, but that's blatantly and honestly what they are, because and you'll find this throughout the year. I think that Zig Ziglar video is an example of that. There will always be that excuse that jumps into your vision line or your goals that says, oh, no, it's this. And this is the time of year where, especially, I'll reference being from up north again, the weather will be a factor. I can't do it. It's snowing. It's cold. It's, it's going to take an extra 20 minutes because I got to start the car. So all those things kind of tend to pile up and will give you, if you were looking for an outs will present themselves. If you're looking for an exit ramp, like, I was going to go to the gym, or I was going to get a run in, man, it's just, it's too cold. It's too this, and I think when you talk about like having 8 get-togethers, and I do think that's probably an average, maybe a little high, but family get-togethers, office parties, it tends to be the time of year where friends tend, stop over. Hey, we're having a little thing, or we're gonna have cocktails, or there's obviously other things going on with the football season being in full swing, and Thanksgiving Day games. So you'll have all these opportunities, but there seems to be this like emotional need to prep for those things for a week. Like Thanksgiving's next week. Oh man, we got to hunker down, and we better go and do this, and we got to make sure this, and we're going to try this out. And like that whole week becomes like this stressful, chaotic. We have to make one thing. We have to make the dessert. We have to bring the dessert. And that becomes a very stressful, thing. And for something that would happen in like August, we have to make a dessert. No, that's fine. We can go make a dessert. Not a problem. But all of a sudden you have this stress.
And there's a lot of emotional ties in with stuff that deals with getting together with family.
Oh yes, absolutely.
As well. And again, I go back to, I tell people, even though, I have a 100-pound weight loss story, people, it's easy to watch maybe my social media or Instagram stories and stuff and just think, and Jimmy just loves working out. And I think I do by this point in my life, but I think it's just because for me, it's mental therapy. Right. On days I don't move, I'm just not as good for the other people in my life. I'm not as good at work. I'm not interacting, like knowing you and I were going to talk today was an incentive to move this morning. Right. I was talking to my vocal coach yesterday. Same thing. I was like, when I know I'm going to be doing public speaking, I get up and move. And so if you look at it this way of, man, my mother always, she's going to pick on these things. This is the things we're always going to fight about and stuff. Man, I'm going to continue to encourage people to lean into doing something physical, whether it's working out or yoga or meditation or something along the lines of getting moving, because it's going to help with that as well. And I just also wanted to touch it. The weather is a very real thing. Like obviously we made a joke that we're super blessed here in Texas. It gets cold, but not for long stretches and not comparatively to other places.
Right.
But I am thankful for the 4 years I lived in New York City. just so I can relate with people like that. And like bitter cold, I don't know if you're like, maybe you're not because you're more seasoned to it. I get mad. Like I get mad when I'm that cold. Like heat sucks. It drains like the energy out of you. But something about cold wet just pisses me off. And so it affects my mood. Mm-hmm. And it is a bit of a more, you have to be more pointed with your decision of, yes, this sucks. Yes, it's cold, but here's the benefits also. Mm-hmm. And again, it's also a reason, one of the things I love and one of the ways I coach people is I love the fact that those people that want to run and go to the gym and it's cold and it's icy and stuff like that, that I give them an option of stuff they can do at home also.
Right.
You know? And so, and at the end of the day, it's exactly like you said, every reason is really just a well-designed excuse. And it's, okay, that's valid. Would you like a solution around that? Mm-hmm. And some people do, and some people just want to feel like the martyr and feel good because they're like, well, look how hard I have it. And they're not solution oriented. Right.
Yeah. And I think, talk about, associating a feeling or an emotion with the conditions that are around you. I mean, I think that's 100%. You'll get that a lot up here. And I think anywhere there'll always be that weather factor that comes in. And there's plenty of, I mean, if you need any sort of like motivation to get over weather, go jump on David Goggins' Instagram.
Oh, dude, that guy's a machine.
Dude, I mean, and that is a tough human being to try to emulate because dude is beast mode. If beast mode had a beast mode, he would be it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you utilize those emotions, and I think you can do it in two separate ways. I think you can do the excuse way, where you can say, you know what, it's too cold, I'm not going to do it. All these other obstacles are in my way just to get to the gym. Or, it's even that emotion that you get when you wake up and you get the little update or, your weather app pops up and it says, by the way, the wind chill right now is 7 below. And you're like, and you think
it already puts you in a mood, right?
Yeah,
like without even feeling it puts you in the mood.
You want to pull the covers back over. And by the way, if anybody needs some morning routine inspiration, get Jimmy's because I've taken things out of there and picked them apart, and they're now fully implemented into how I get up and do it. But I think
that's awesome.
I think you can also utilize that emotion, that negative feelings that you have towards especially the cold. Now you use that because this is what I've had to do to myself.
Sure.
We were not expecting to have this Arctic blast of weather up here in Wisconsin. It's going to be cold. I'm a runner. Let me classify that. I hate running, but I run.
That's a lot of runners. You're not alone in that.
I don't particularly enjoy the process of running, but I am in love with the result of running. From a physical standpoint, from a mental clarity standpoint, and from how it amplifies my day, and I do it really damn early in the morning. So all these things have come into play with the temperatures being, okay, today it's 32. And we kind of just got out of a window where it was when it's warm to run, when it's warm, that's a stressor as well. Because it's like, oh man, I'm not even started, I'm not even into mile 1 and I'm sweating like a dog out here. Cold temperatures is completely different because you are mentally fearful of going out because what that first rush of cold air feels like. You bundle up and you can feel all the places that, I can feel the cold air going up my, my running pants leg, and I can feel it. I have gloves on, but it goes up my hoodie, and I can feel it going down over my. But you start to utilize that emotion, that negative emotion, and you kind of run angry for the first, mile or two, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like, dude, I own this. This weather, I got this. And you feel when you get back from a run and it's below 0 wind chills, which it was this morning, the last couple of mornings I've been out, and I get back and I got frost on my beard. I kind of got this just back from the North Pole thing going on, but I get it back in the house and then that warm rush of air hits me and I'm like, that may have been one of the best runs I had. Maybe not time, because I think up here when we have ice and snow on the ground already, you have to be a little more cautious of where your foot placement and things like that. But just breathing and the clarity of the cold, crisp air on your brain, I'm not sure there's anything like it.
Absolutely. And just think about that from where you start mentally, you wake up, you look at the weather app, you don't want to do this, to where you are at the end, so in addition to the in-home workouts I do, I go to a CrossFit box here a couple times a week, and the thing about it's like working on a garage. So when it's hot, and when it's cold, it is a refrigerator in there. And it's kind of that same feeling, like when you're first getting your body warm and you're like, God, you can tell that you're not as young as you used to be, and everything creaks a little bit, but you kind of lean into that. You kind of work out a little mad, and then you're like, I own this. And there's something about, I think if people could find ways to make themselves feel like a badass more often, it bleeds over into other areas of life, like confidence and swagger. That's if you can do that, especially like something in the morning. Think if you walked into your office already feeling like a badass because you conquered something today, and you walk in with this swagger. Okay, if you're an employer, you're going to be inspiring your employees. If you're an employee, your boss and the people around you are going to be like, hey, there's something different about that dude or that girl's attitude coming in, that they're walking into a day already with a sense of accomplishment. Like I always say that, man, like, when I do that, and that was part of the whole morning routine, and that's part of writing the ebook was, man, regardless of what else ever happened, I already had a productive day, so everything else is gravy. And then and then you can't help but, because you created your own momentum instead of waiting for motivation or something to hit you, and you go grab it, by the very cold rains. You start creating something, and then you're almost in flow where it just takes over the rest of the day. And this is going to be the same as people going through the holiday season. And you know what's so bad? You know what's so crazy? So we're all going to eat and drink way too much over the next 6 weeks. Those that don't do it, that kind of fall into this all or nothing thing, really fall into this depression of, oh my gosh, they love it in the moment. It's almost like you may be actually physically hungover because you drank too much, but there's this weird emotional hangover too that I don't feel like I run into as much, because I may go, whoo, I had 3 pieces of cake and the 2 cocktails and whatever. But if I knew I worked out that morning, if I have a pretty good idea that I'll either work out the next day or the day after, like I just use it as fuel. And so I don't fall into this depressive, guilty state that I think a lot of people that I'm going to wait till January is one do. And so let's say you don't lose any weight over the next 6 weeks, but you don't put any on either.
Right.
Plus, when everybody else is starting to get ready in January, you already kind of have a momentum. Now, can you ramp it up? Can we dial that nutrition back in a little bit to clean some things up come January? Absolutely. But it is much easier to roll into January already, at least maybe it's not even every day. Maybe it's just like twice a week or 3 times a week that you're doing something. And then you do ramp it up to that 100% that you wanted to do going into January. It's much easier than trying to go from 0 miles an hour to 100 to say, hey, I've kind of been coasting here at 30 and 40, through these 6 weeks, and now I can ramp it up as well. And you don't deal with that emotional hangover and just feeling so crappy about yourself because you've just completely indulged. I mean, the whole point of holidays is to enjoy this, to celebrate the family, to celebrate this time of year. So if I'm going to do something that's going to create endorphins that I'm going to feel good about, maybe I use some of those extra calories to put on a little lean muscle mass, which is going to help burn fat. But it also allows me to enjoy it without just the huge amount of guilt that comes along with it. Then you're going to have a better holiday season anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about getting to that January 1st, if you do kind of have it, semi dialed in, you're putting in some time and effort here and there, for yourself, for that physical aspect of it. That first workout, when you get into the new year or post holidays, there's a lot of businesses, a lot of companies out there that have holiday parties into January. But you don't feel like that first workout can just slay you. It can be, and it may not be even that much. And maybe that's the problem, is that it's not much, and you're sweating, you're sore, you get that, that next day you can't move feeling. And that puts the brakes on it. It's like a twofold thing. You feel like, oh, well, I must have worked really hard because I'm sore, everything hurts. But then you take a couple days off, and then that holiday party that's in January, the first weekend pops up. So there's a lot to be said about trying to find some sort of maintenance level during this time of year when you do have scheduled. A lot of things are on the calendar already. You have Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Eve, we have something with one side of the family, and Thanksgiving Day it's with this side of the family. And then, okay, well, this, Black Friday, we're doing this, or we're just going to sit on the computer and, buy stock on Amazon before that day, if we could. Me and Jeff Bezos going pound for pound. But when you get to that January point and you have those little elements in there of it's okay, at least I got my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in, or I got my Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I did a little something on Saturday.
Right.
Or you plan, like, I know I have to be at Thanksgiving at this time, but I'm going to try to get up and get this done in the morning to have that. Well, now I can eat, I feel better about eating knowing that I burned some calories in the morning. And then when January comes, that first workout isn't such a bear. It's not such a, beat down. You're going to feel a little bit if you're putting in that, okay, it's January, that mentality kind of flips over to the new year, but you're not going to have that fall off the cliff, like I mentioned earlier, where it just dogs you and then you can't get back up for a few days, or a few days turns into a few weeks, and then it turns into, the kids are back in school.
Yeah. And then you're worried about the summer and bathing suit season.
Exactly.
And the other thing, and we were actually discussing real quick before we popped on here, was this. Another lie we tell ourselves is, things calm down after the holidays, and so January will be great. And I really want to challenge the person listening to this to go back, look at your calendar or whatever, and remember last January. There is no time that, since I've been an adult, I don't remember a time in my life that I wasn't busy somehow,
right?
That there wasn't stuff. And so instead of waiting for this perfect moment to start, I've had mentors before that just told me, hey, just start and make it messy. Mm-hmm. Don't, done is better than perfect. And think of it this way, for those people that are wanting to get started now, even if it's on like the most part-time basis, don't discount that. But think about this. You're going to start now, starting to create these new habits. And then you can get through this. Once you get to January and February, and you're going to remember, like, oh man, I made this work in the middle of holiday season. Right. I got this in January, February, March, instead of it, trying to fit it into whatever normal life is by that point. Start it at the most inopportune time. Zig when everybody else is zagging, when everybody else is like, well, I can't because of this. Yes, you can. I mean, it's just a flat out lie, because if somebody else is doing it, that means you can do it as well. And then you're gonna feel so much better when you don't have this many challenges in front of you. That, again, what are things we can put in our lives that make us feel a little unstoppable, like a badass, something just to pound our chest, right, or really, kind of bow up and go, I did that. Well, then start it now. But they just got to let go of perfect, or I need that one more motivation. And motivation is going to find you because you took action. If you're waiting for the motivation lightning bolt to hit you, that's so rare, and it only pops up ever so often, and it's very temporary. I just feel like it's just like an emotion, the way being mad or happy or sad or whatever comes by. So what can we do to take these baby steps now when motivation may be lacking, but still moves you in the right direction? Mm-hmm. So when that motivation comes in January, February, your other friends are jumping in, man, again, you're already moving, and then you just use that to take it to the next level.
And if you're looking for that time to zig when everybody else is zagging, and maybe you don't have a gym membership, or maybe you have one that's collecting dust somewhere on your keychain and the plastic is falling off of it. I mean, what is this even for anymore? Like the logo's gone. If you ever wanted a better time of year to jump into a gym and have space and room and not feel the pressure of, a ton of people in there, this is the time of year seemingly that the numbers decline a little bit because everybody else is going in, kind of that direction that we talked about. The gym rats are not the gym rats, but those are kind of doing that maintenance most of the year. This is when they start to kind of peel back a little bit. So this is a great time to get into a gym habit and even develop some, relationships, whether it's with a trainer, with other people that obviously are there either doing the same thing or that are the gym rat that hangs out and that does the gym, all year long. And you start to develop relationships with people at the gym. And then when that rush comes, when, you're doing your 3 or 4 days a week or whatever it is that you're doing to get through the holiday season, and that rush happens, if everybody's seen the meme, on January 1st, right, where it's like, Jonestown the morning after is the top picture of like the gym in December. And then the bottom, it's like a mall rush. Yes. The gym in January, and all of a sudden you develop these relationships with people, and you can, you start to coordinate. Hey, everybody's going to be at the gym doing this thing, or they're all going after work. Let's start going in the morning, or let's find a time during the day or on the weekends. You can start to develop some really good personal relationships with people that can not only keep you motivated, but that you can motivate back and forth with. You can say, hey, you helped me get through the holiday season, and now you're kind of feeling down in January. you can develop these things because there is going to be a more openness in a lot of gym facilities this time of year.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up. So, the streaming in-home workouts that I do, if I'm not doing them at home, I literally can stream them from my phone. So I'm one of these guys that, again, I like to go to the gym, but I will stream those workouts from my phone in the gym to give me something to follow along with and keeps me on pace to get in and out. And the last few mornings has literally been that, when this little cold fronts come through, it's been just a bit of the hardcores in there. It's been a lot of space.
Right.
But there is this sometimes spoken, sometimes unspoken respect of you're here, and you do make these bonds. And I've been reminded over the past couple of weeks of how important community is, whether it's an online community like the support, like the online support groups that I run with the people that I work with, or in that gym with those people. There are those people that my gym technically doesn't open till 5:30 in the morning. There's this small group because one of the trainers is in their early training people that were in there before opening, right? Those of us that are they're crazy early, but it's exactly that. We've created this bond, and we couldn't be a more diverse rat pack, hodgepodge of types of people. So it's not just the big giant meatheads that are intimidating that are in there. It's the late 40s mom, it's the college kid, it's the busy professional, it's me, it's just it's a mix of people. And I think that's a great way to get a jump on that, because the gym in January is going to be intimidating. And it's really one of the reasons, I got started streaming the workouts in the first place, because, when I was 100 pounds overweight, I didn't want to jump into a gym. And maybe there's somebody listening now who knows that they need to get started on something and does have a substantial amount of weight. Man, there really is. January 7th is the most intimidating time to walk in there because it is so crowded. And especially if somebody's not sure exactly what to do, then I'm going to really encourage them to start taking action now, whether it's reaching out to a local trainer, if it's them, messaging or DMing me on Instagram so we can talk and have a consultation. Find somebody that you can bounce some questions off, that you have you need just a cheerleader in your corner, specifically because we've already talked about all the things that you're going to hear from everybody else why you shouldn't start right now. Right. Find somebody that's just going to speak some truth and some life and some encouragement into you during this time also.
Yeah, and don't be embarrassed to ask the questions. Oh. That's the toughest thing. And I can see people having that internal desire and burn, and knowing, maybe listening to this podcast and saying, damn, they're making some good points. And, it's trapped inside of my head, the back and forth of I need to start something, or I've been starting something. I don't want to hit the brakes on it right now because the holidays are here. But they don't want to feel stupid and be what can I do at home? What are some of these, you talked about some of these streaming, possibilities that are out there. Asking those questions, if you can get over that fear, ask the questions, because the answers are out there. That's the whole thing. The answers are out there. If you want to lose weight, there's maps to how to do that. If you want to gain lean muscle, there's paths that are out there to do. There's questions and there's answers for everything. There's no question that doesn't have an answer to it. It's just fighting that fear of, man, do I really want to ask Jimmy Hayes Nelson how to do this? Or if they watch your Instagram and they see you now, they don't know the backstory. By the way, listen to episode 28. You'll get the backstory on Jimmy and the fight that he's gone through with his weight at a young age and where he is now. But ask those questions. And trainers, personal trainers, you probably have, you tell somebody who's not maybe a gym person or not into fitness or health, they automatically get this vision in their head about, a personal trainer. Oh yeah, guy's ripped, he's got the cutoff shirt on. You can see he's got some vascular, some veins popping out of his arms. He really wears those shirts nicely. Probably got a shaved head. I don't know. That's maybe a little too specific, but so they're intimidated because of, this person is a personal trainer who trains other people to look like, to have that kind of physicality, to have that kind of, that look. And they're afraid to ask that question. I'm like, that's their job. That's what they do, and guys like Jimmy who are out there who are more than willing to answer questions and lead people in the right direction and show them options, because that's other people can get confused about, well, I have to go to a gym. If I want to I have to go to a gym. There are plenty of options that are out there for people that you don't need to go to a gym right away. Maybe you want to get to a certain point so you can feel comfortable walking into a gym, and that's okay. There are ways to get you to that point before you take that first step into a gym. So I think asking questions is such a huge thing that a lot of people are afraid to do.
I was doing a group coaching call yesterday with some of my clients. And again, we were talking about there's so many areas in our life where people don't necessarily want us to win. Mm-hmm. Think of I'm just going to use corporate America as an example. Okay, your boss brings you in and they're going to train you, but they're going to train you so much because you get too good, you may take their job, right? And there's this kind of healthy, or unhealthy cooperation, but rivalry within inside of an office place or maybe a school setting or even within your family.
Right.
And so I think it's so rare to have people just walk into a community where everybody just wants you to win. And again, that's something that I've tried to work on with the people that I work with is, hey, your success doesn't take away from me. Success isn't this finite amount of, there's only so much success to, if I have a bottle of water, there's only this much success. So if I pour some out, it's taking away from somebody else. That really is a scarcity mindset. And if you can align yourself with somebody that just wants you to win, and that, and I say that because you touched on the judgment, the being embarrassed. And so, again, and that's why I try to remind people of my story all the time, because it's easy to watch somebody that maybe you admire and think, well, they've always been this way. They don't understand how I feel. And so I'm always trying to remind myself, I have to remind people that I was a very insecure 100-pound overweight guy that didn't know where to start in a gym. Didn't know. It wasn't the desire to be healthy wasn't there. It was just feeling stupid. I really would walk into a gym with a Men's Health magazine with the workout that was in the middle, trying to figure it out. And my mindset was so poor that if anybody in the gym was looked like they were having a good time or talking with each other or even kind of laughing and stuff, I just assumed they were talking about me. Right. I mean, that's where I was mentally. And so, and that's just touching on a completely, maybe that's the next episode where we come in and literally talk about personal development and mindset. But I had as much to tackle internally between my ears as I did around what was going on with my waistline, And so if you can align with somebody, a coach, a community, a support system, that really believes in you more than you believe in yourself initially. Right. That's just a huge key as well. And they're out there, or we are out there. That first step is scary, but once you do it, it's not as scary as you thought. And if you're aligning with the right people, there won't be any judgment. If somebody's made you to feel stupid, you're probably working with the wrong person.
Right. And you will fall into, if you want to start things, and this applies, I think, to trying to get healthy or trying to do some maintenance during a holiday season. And I think it applies in business. If you're like myself, venturing off into entrepreneurship,
right?
There is a group of people that, and they can be anybody. They can be friends, they can be family, they can be strangers that you meet or conversate with, that are trying to. It feels like that they're trying to keep you in a safe zone. They want to keep you in a place where. Are you sure? It'd be much easier for you. You'd be much more comfortable if you didn't take this risk. Do you really want to get up that early? Do you really want to go to a gym? You know what gyms smell like? You remember gym at school, in high school? Remember that smell? It ran in your clothes. Your mom had to throw them out. You throw your shorts out. They want to keep you kind of with them. Come back down. You know what? We got drinks. And we got food, and we got you don't want to put yourself out there and take this risk, bite off more than you can chew. You don't want to do that. There is, again, one of those exit ramps that presents itself. And if you're looking for one, boom, you got it. Yeah. There will be somebody in your circle that closer.
That's always more about them than it is about you.
100%.
Because it's the same. It's the same thing as, if you're, me, my background as a performer, when your parents are like, that's great, just have a plan B. Right. And they don't mean to discourage you, but they're like, oh, but we want you to be safe. And that's more about their lack of belief. Or, when you start stepping out of your comfort zone or raising your bar or deciding to level up in life, the people around you that haven't to that point see that you have all the same excuses and reasons in the same situation they are, yet you're doing something about it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not, that makes them internally usually kind of feel bad.
Right.
And it's easier to ridicule and pull you down than it is for them to be inspired by you and step up as well.
Right.
So it's easier to go, well, you're this, or give you some excuse on why, this is easier for you than me, or I could never do that. I'm like, well, great. Well, you're not, and I am.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I had a friend of mine, I'm gonna see if I can remember this quote, is like, if I can't count on your vocal support, I'd appreciate your silent judgment, or something along those lines of just simply saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing. If it's not your jam, that's fine. I'm not cringing, or, I'm not pushing this on you.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't need the judgment or the negative feedback. And that's always more about the person giving the criticism than it is about them really concerned about your well-being, whether that's starting a fitness thing, stepping out and starting a business or a side hustle. It's more about them being uncomfortable with it and a reason they haven't done something than it is about you.
Stress is a huge, real thing. Some people handle stress really well. Some use stress as a fuel, as a gasoline on a fire to improve, to get through things, to push through things. But when you talk about the holiday season, it is the most stressful time of year for a lot of people. It seems like I shouldn't even say it seems like. Last night I turned on the television and Home Alone was on, and I was like, "Is this the?" There's a station, I can't remember, Freeform or some station that runs used to run. Let me rephrase. Used to run Christmas movies from December 1st through the 25th. The 25 days of Christmas, and it was 25 movies all day, every day, and it was the middle of November, and they were running Home Alone. So this was the kickoff to the countdown of the 25 days of Christmas. So we have now taken this this month, 25 days, and now we're like, you know what? 40 sounds better. 40 is a rounder number. So with the season, as soon as even shopping for, Halloween decorations or Halloween costumes at a location here in town, there was one aisle, you're looking over, here's all the Halloween stuff, ghouls and goblins and Transformers, and over here it's dun, 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 dun. They got Christmas music playing. I'm like, so we're already put under a tremendous amount of pressure for the holiday season because it's seemingly now not just a December thing or Thanksgiving, that whole month between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's now basically, once you get into October, it's the holiday season. Almost after Labor Day, once you kind of get the kids are back in school, now it's okay, kids in school, and then it's Halloween, and then all of a sudden it's Thanksgiving and Christmas. So this season has extended longer, thus putting more stress, I think, on a lot of people that are interpreting the fact that Home Alone is on, and you go, Home Alone, oh, great childhood memories. Oh, yes, shopping in malls and losing children on flights. Don't let that happen to your kid, by the way. So you start to get you almost are trying. My son and I, who's 9, loves Home Alone. He's probably, a young Kevin McAllister reincarnated, should he ever be put in that position. But we're trying to, we're sitting down. He finally sits down to enjoy the movie, and we're watching a little bit. And I'm just thinking, wow, they're really notching up not only the super duper extended 25, 40 days of Christmas, but you start to almost get that slight anxiety of, oh yeah, Thanksgiving is in, 2 weeks, and we got to make a dessert. Nope. Wonder what we're doing for Christmas. Nope. My mom's flying in from California and she's going to be here for 10 days. What are we going to put? And all of a sudden, just watching this wholesome Christmas movie has turned into this stress machine, this stress ball that just grows and grows and grows. All these things happen. And the holidays seem to be a big time where people start to really get stressed out about finances are a huge thing. Everybody wants to buy the latest gifts. There's pressure on every radio, TV commercial, even the ads you listen to on your streaming music. They're starting to pop up with here's your new holiday playlist. Oh no, man, I got to buy, so all this stress starts, and the eating thing. And so all this stress is just building inside of you. In a time of year when you're supposed to be enjoying, you're supposed to be smiling more and saying, kind things to your neighbor. And how much is stress eating? Because we talked about kind of those targeted times where you're going to eat more. I'm going to eat more on Thanksgiving. Black Friday, that usually means the leftovers from things. Who doesn't love a turkey sandwich for breakfast? On Black Friday.
Right.
But then Christmas. You do Christmas Eve. You do Christmas Day. The other family, they do the Christmas on that set. Besides those strategic times, all of a sudden you got nuts and you got canned. And nuts are good, by the way. Nuts are good protein. Nuts are good. They're good fats. But candies are out and cookies are out and cakes are out, and you can just kind of fall into this trap where you just start to eat. This stress eating factor comes into play immensely. And
Absolutely.
And then what follows the stress eating? The guilt of what I ate 2,000 calories before,
Such an emotional up and down, you know? And again, I'm going to go back to, and this may be where you were going with this, is what are you doing to offset that stress? And for me, that's why going back to finding something physical that I can do. My nutrition is going to ebb and flow. My stress eating, things like that. But if I can move my body, yes, dealing with that emotional up and down, the beating yourself up after indulging, it just isn't it isn't as monster if you are moving with it as well. Right. I just feel like it offsets it some. And there's so many studies about endorphins and the way exercise, it impacts the brain. Tony Robbins talks about this a lot, that people that are in depression, or if you're just in that lethargic mood, or, hey, I'm just not in the mood, or I'm just kind of pissy today, that if you want to change your mental state, the fastest way to do it is to change your physical state. If you've ever been to a Tony Robbins thing, like that's why his people get on their feet and clap and jump and do stuff that feels really silly, because he's like, your body informs your mind so much. And so for me, I never can tell you the workout that I didn't feel like doing, or when I was mad or stressed, that I walked in there even when my attitude was crap, the same way you did with your run, that you just didn't feel. You may have not fixed the problem, right, but you did something with that angst and that energy. And yes, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to feel like it when you start. That's the whole point, is what can you do? If you want to change your state, change your physical state. It's the fastest way to do that. And the more tools you have to your disposal. So if that's, hey, I go for a run. Oh, I get a gym membership. I can go to a spin class. I have these streaming workouts. There's always it's getting in the floor and doing, 5 sets of push-ups until failure, something to get you moving, because it's going to change your mental state.
Yeah. And there's, I think it was David Goggins, but there's like this mind trick you can also play with yourself when you really should do something physical. Right. You should get up and, I use running because it's kind of been my go-to. I mean, I incorporate a lot of different things into my regiment, but if you have your mindset maybe the day before, and that's, when it's nighttime, like, oh man, I can't wait to get up and go running in the morning. Because I know the feeling afterwards, like that whole, getting motivated, getting into it, that never crosses my mind. But the end result, and man, when I get done and get back to the house and it's warm, it's great. I'm gonna do 5 miles, or I'm gonna do 7, or I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'm gonna get up a little earlier, which is just dumb. But you've seen my Instagram posts, you've liked that stuff before. You're like, that dude is crazy. But okay, I'm gonna do 10 miles. And you get up in the morning, you're like, oh my God, why? I can't push myself to do this. So the mind trick comes in when you say, no, I'm gonna do 2. I'm gonna do 1. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna put my shoes on, and I'm gonna bundle up, and I'll put my layers on, and look like I'm gonna rob somebody because I got the, the mask on. It's at 4:00 in the morning. The police go, yeah, okay. He looks like nobody runs at this temperature. That guy's probably on a mission.
Right.
And when you get to that point, whatever you set your mind to, like, okay, I'll do 1. I'll do a mile, and when you get to that first mile, when you start, your breathing gets into it, and you get your foot rhythm down. Maybe you got music in, or a podcast, or listening to an audiobook, however you get through your workouts. When you get to that mile, the mind trick comes in when you go, hey, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna run to that light pole. Yep. I'm gonna run to that bridge. I usually go down this route. I know this one takes me home. I'm just gonna, instead of going right back and turning around to go down the block towards the house, I'm just jet down here. And if you start to kind of keep on doing that and tricking your mind into it, pretty soon you're at 3 miles, 4 miles, or you're, instead of like 15 minutes into a workout, you're 45 minutes in. You start to kind of lose track of time. Mm-hmm. You just tricked your mind that did not want to do anything. It had no motivation. And you just like, okay, I'm just going to kind of go through the motions. I'm at left foot, right foot, get moving, they'll stretch. And then all of a sudden it's an hour later and you're like, damn, I just own that. I just own my own mind. And
my weightlifting session this morning was very similar because it was back and there's pull-ups and I just don't enjoy them very much. and it was just like, okay, I'm going to do this set. And I do that all the time. Like, all right, I'm going to get 5 to 10 minutes into this and I'm still not feeling, I'm going to give myself, I'll stretch and bail. And it's the exact same thing. Like usually you're like, okay, I'll do one more. I'll do this and that. And the next thing, it just kind of adds upon itself. And you really realize that your mental state changes as you go. And it goes right back to what I was just talking about. You change that physical state and it's amazing where your mind will go and reward you because of it.
How do you, and you've been doing this for a minute, you know, it's been, you've been doing the fitness thing for a minute. How do you continue to find motivation? I think we talked a little bit about motivation. I think you're spot on with it being kind of a short, fast burn, and then it's done. You know, it's the gasoline you put onto a fire, and it flares up, and it's raw, and it's, you know, and then it just kind of goes back down to nothing. And so there's ways to keep, you know, the wood that's in that fire pit, to keep it burning at a steady level. You get the flashes of motivation. I think, you know, one of the things you have in your morning routine with busting onto YouTube and just, you know, searching motivation, when you get to a level like you've pushed me into, thanks Jimmy.
Right.
Now I can't even go to YouTube without it just telling me, like, here's 45 motivation.
Yeah.
That's all I get now.
Giving it to you after that. You know, okay, this is a great analogy. So let's use YouTube as an analogy. So you started going to YouTube and started looking for things. After you do that long enough, YouTube started giving you the things, right? And I look at motivation as the same way. I've been reading Bo Eason's newest book, There's No Plan B for Your A Game. And he talks about that it actually is 66 days to create a new habit. And he said, if you will do something for 66 straight days, it becomes harder not to do that thing than it is to do it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that makes sense. You know, as I look back, because I wasn't always a morning person. You know, I talk about this, you know, people that want to go to productbook.com and read the whole morning routine. I wasn't this morning person, you know, and so for me, it's where the other pieces of my life, is it just because I just feel like a badass when I get to put on clothes or like a suit or I'm going to go out? Is it the fact that it builds confidence? Is it because I know that every time I take more control of my physical life, it seems like opportunities in other place, you know, I found a way to make more money, or my business has turned up, or I got that promotion, or what is that why? Do I want to do something to you know, is it because you want to be an example for your kids and you're like, hey, how can I ask my kids to be healthy if I'm not doing it for them? Or, hey, I've really been trying to talk to my parents about, you know, they're getting up there in their age. I wish they take better care of themselves, but who am I to ask them if I'm not? Like sometimes you got to find something outside of yourself that becomes that. And I'll tell you, over the past, you know, 15 years of being kind of in this world, that why changes from time to time. And it's what's the most immediate one now. And okay, if I can string together 30 days of movement, how does my life look differently in these next 30 days? What can I do 5 to 10 pounds from now that I don't feel like I can do now? What if I could prove to myself that I could build up to running 10 miles? What else would that mean in my life if I could get over this hump? And so it is having that why, because when somebody comes to me or they send me a DM on Instagram and they're like, Jimmy, I've been watching you. I just need to get healthy. I'm like, cool. What do you mean? What do you want to do? Like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, great. And I've learned I have to dig more. I'm like, well, tell me more. What can you do 20 pounds from now that you don't feel like you can do now? And once you kind of start digging in with people on an emotional level, they're more connected to it, and it's harder to quit. Because if you really do align yourself and give somebody permission to hold you accountable, that time you want to take that exit ramp and to be reminded, hey, you said you wanted to do this because you wanted to set an example for your sister who's not very healthy. Is that no longer a priority anymore? Are we not worried about your sister's health?
Right.
And that may sound a little like harsh, but sometimes that's what you need. You need something that sometimes like hits you in the solar plexus, maybe makes you cry a little bit when you think about it. And is that something that's just bigger than I'm just doing a workout today? Because then it's just a to-do and it's annoying.
it reminds me a lot of something I've been bringing up a lot on the podcast as of late. And again, Jimmy was on episode 28, and that was, I think, in August when we had you on, and, episode 43 now. So we've been moving and having a lot of conversations with a lot of great people. And the one thing I've really started to implement is this mentality of future you. And I think you brought up a couple of different points there when you talk about what can you do, at 20 pounds lighter. What can you do? What are you looking to accomplish? What are you unable to do now that you could do at this point? And I think a lot of that and this future you mentality, which you can utilize if you really start to hone in on your goals, whether it is in fitness, in health, in business, in your parenting, in your relationships. If you start to really talk to future you and you say, man, in 5 years, physical me wants to be here. And you start to have and people might think you crazy. They might think you crazy talking to future you, and future you is telling you, dude, I'm standing here and I just got done. One of my goals for 2020 is to do the trifecta for Spartan. So to do the 3 races for Spartan. What is future me in November, a year from now, saying after he completed that one?
Yeah.
And he's saying, man, dude, we killed it. And now we're looking at doing, some ultras, and we're, looking at doing some crazy other things. And if you're at a point in that morning to work out and you're like, I just can't do it today. Future you start listening to future you's voice, who's standing at the edge of, the finale of Spartan, the beast in November of 2020. And he's going, do you know you will not be able to accomplish this that you set your mind to accomplish if you don't do this today? If it is a business thing, if it's making a phone call that you don't want to make, if it's, making an investment that is a little bit risky, all these things. And you start talking to future you about, like, here's what happened. You made this choice, you made this call, you made this connection, you went to this networking seminar, you went and did this, you went and learned how to utilize this program that you were really scared to learn. You had to work with numbers. I'm in the middle of doing my P&L for my company, and it's like my mind is about to explode. But I'm like, man, if I don't understand it, if I don't get the numbers, if I don't get how it works, when I'm approached with something or an opportunity, or somebody asks me, bringing me to question about some of these things, I need to understand how it all works. I have to put the work in now so that I know in the future. Same thing if you're looking at what can I accomplish 20 pounds lighter. Well, man, I could be playing with my kids, or I could be, running a 5K, running a 10K, or I could be able to get up off of the couch and not have to rock and roll 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And
I can sleep better. I'm not having sleep apnea. It's really funny. I just wrote down real quick here because I love this concept of future you. And what hit me right now is I am future me to 22-year-old Jimmy, right?
Right.
And so the first thing I wrote is I was like, man, I want to thank 22-year-old me from being scared and doing it anyway.
Right.
Right. Because that was a very different guy than who I am now. And then when I thought of, like, okay, where am I, about to turn 42 next month, what does 50-year-old me look like? What does future me? And I got that. You remember the scene in Back to the Future when he's up there playing the guitar and he has the picture and like his siblings, people are starting to fade.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so think about this. So if you had this picture of future you in your mind, every morning you decide not to do the workout or not to do the hard thing, that picture of future you starts disappearing because you're like, hey, if you're listening to future you's voice the days you don't want to do it, future you never gets created. Every day you tap out. Future you never gets made if you wait till January or the perfect time or when things slow down to finally start something. And so if you have this picture of future you, every day you put it off, it's like that scene in Back to the Future where the picture's fading and future you never, like, 42 or 41-year-old me isn't sitting here on this podcast getting to speak life into other people.
Right.
If 22-year-old me didn't show up when he was scared, when he was busy, when he had excuses, when he was in debt, when he didn't know what he was doing, and just made it messy. And to kind of put a bow on this entire conversation is right now is your opportunity. There's not a more unopportune time to get started than this time of the year. Let's acknowledge that. Cool. What else? Next. And so if you really do have this vision of changing your life, of either maybe it's a fitness thing, maybe it's creating a life of freedom, maybe it's getting out of that corporate rat race you're in. I don't know what it is, but now is as good a time as any to get that picture of future you and start showing up every day. So 6 months from now, when we're not in the holidays, a year from now, when we're going back into the holidays, you're like, oh my God, thank you, present me, for helping to create 6 months from now me, and a year from now me, and then eventually that 5 to 10 years from now me, but it's got to start now.
I think that is a perfect way to put a bow on this conversation. I think that lends itself into a very important aspect of all this. That's gratitude that you need to have. I think you need to thank yourself for those things, especially if you are, looking to where you've come from, what you got yourself out of, the difficult times. If you're in the middle of a struggle of any sort, and you can reflect back and say, you know what, when I was 22, and I made some bad decisions when I was 22, 23, 24. I mean, there's a list.
The 20 numbers.
The 20s. But if you can look back and say, you know what, man, I got through some shit, and it was tough, but somehow I got through it. Thank you, 22-year-old self, 25-year-old self, for getting through those times, because it put me here in a position to make future me, present me, go out and do these things and accomplish these things. And I can talk to the future me and say, here's where I want to be. And then again, reflecting back into, that past version of you and where it has come from. And I will tie another bow on the Back to the Future thing. Two things. First, it's funny because in my very first episode of this podcast, I referenced Back to the Future. And then like the first 5 podcasts, somehow Back to the Future worked its way in on my own accord. Jimmy Hayes Nelson comes on episode number 42 or 43, and Back to the Future comes up. But I did just see a meme that at this point, past November 5th of 2019, every scene in Back to the Future is now taking place in the past.
Oh wow!
There is no more future. Hey, who you telling, man? That was my childhood. McFly. Every scene is now in the past. So we have. Awesome. We have that to rest our laurels on, I guess. Jimmy Hayes Nelson, I know that another thing I want to talk about as we get to the new year is injuries and those things. I know you have a knee thing, but those are, again, if you look at the crux of all the issues that we run into, things are going to come up. There's always going to be something, but the mentality of finding a way to get through it, to push through it, and to keep going, keep moving forward. Injuries can be a thing. Obviously, if you're a workout person, even if you're not, if you're not a person that works out, you can find a way to get injured. Walk down the sidewalk in Wisconsin right now. You will find a way to get injured. But how do you overcome those kind of obstacles? I think it falls right in line with the things that follow us into the holiday season. There's going to be things that approach you, and if you can get through them, or if you can, enjoy them at the moment, but know that, hey, I'm going to work out the next day, or hey, I'm going to, get more sleep, or I'm going to do, I'm going to have 2 cocktails instead of 7. All these small decisions that can keep moving you forward. I think that's kind of what that's what get us all through the holidays. To you, sir, thank you for the time. As always.
Thank you for having me back. We always have these great talks, so let's keep doing this.
Absolutely. I think after the new year, that'd be a great time because we'll be in the midst of the gym rat race and resolutions falling out, and a lot of great conversations. But also, if people want to get a hold of you, we talked about giving you DMs. Obviously, Instagram is a great place. We will put the link in the show notes, but just so people can, if they're just listening and they want to follow you on Insta, where can they find you?
Yeah, almost any social media. I'm thecoachjimmy.com. We've referenced the morning routine a few times on this episode. They can go to productivebook.com and they can see my entire morning routine. And absolutely, can DM me there on Instagram or Twitter at thecoachjimmy, and I answer all my own stuff.
And I do want to say I really wish your Cowboys could have beat the Vikings the other week because
me too. That's another conversation for
that's off the air. That one's gonna not be PG-13 rated. But thank you, Jimmy Hayes Nelson. Episode number 43 in the books. So let's get you back on here very soon, my friend.
Absolutely, thank you. Appreciate it.
That was good. Thank you so much for listening to the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for listening, for consistently listening, for sharing the podcast with your friends. It really means the world to me to help spread the message, to help spread like wildfire. If you are listening and you're not subscribed to whatever platform that you're on, if you're listening on your iPhone or your Android device, maybe your tablet, or wherever you're, Alexa, please make sure that you are subscribing. That way, every time we drop a new episode, and they've been coming in hot as of late, you'll get a notification on your device that lets you know that there's a new one ready to listen. I know you're all over the socials because I am all over the socials, and you can follow the program and all the things that we have going on, all the intricacies and behind-the-scenes stuff from the show. It's riveting. Social media, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter and Instagram, so make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, and make sure you get all those details and insights and pictures and crazy stuff that we're doing. Last but not least, do have to say a big thank you out to Nick and the Holistic Remedies crew on the World Wide Web at holisticremedies.net. Your CBD needs, your full spectrum needs, they got all that stuff. And you get 10% off your order if you use the promo code Cooper at checkout. That's holisticremedies.net. Thank you again so much for cranking up the Welcome to Cooperville podcast. New episode coming very, very soon. Otherwise, always a good opportunity to catch up on previous episodes. Thank you so much. Go get after it.